Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we have some very Horizon 4. Yes, it has been confirmed. Wow, have we got a lot to discuss today. First of all, we've got the news about it being confirmed officially, which is absolutely amazing. But first of all, please ignore the fact I am playing Drive Club on the PlayStation in the background. That is probably a bit of a mistake there, but it makes it easier for me to show this footage to you very quickly, as if I'm trying to upload anything on like as a video, it takes me forever to upload. It is actually rather pathetic how long it takes to upload videos. Right, so let me get around this corner here so I can slow down a bit. Right, let's turn my telly down a bit because I am deafening myself here. Right, so what do we know so far about Forza Horizon 4? Well, the location. It is being set in my hometown, or home country, the UK. The Forza Horizon 4 is being set in the UK. Now that is absolutely fantastic, as I don't think that many games ever actually are based in the UK. It's quite an unusual thing. And the last game I played that was based in the UK was Games of London on the PlayStation Portable, so yeah, that was a little while back. So yeah, the location's going to be in the UK. Now we don't exactly know where. I think it's going to be like what Forza Horizon 3 was, where it was like just bits and pieces of the UK put together in just one map, or like the best parts of the UK. So it'd be bits like Surrey or Somerset. There might be bits and pieces in London. There's bound to be bits in London. I think in some footage on the trailer there was bits of it in London where you could see there was like the little islands in the middle of the road where for pedestrians. Like, that's definitely a very British thing. I saw, not sort of talking about the location as such, but there's the addition of traffic lights. Now this is a very interesting thing, as traffic lights have never actually appeared in Forza games. There's always been, well, traffic lightless, and when you're trying to cruise around normally, that is an absolute pain, because the traffic does sort of act rather oddly, and yeah, it does get quite annoying at times, because you don't really know whether you're meant to be like setting off or not, because the traffic is just too busy to be setting off, but then nothing's stopping the traffic from going. So it's nice having some traffic lights there. The next thing we know is the cars. Now we've seen a few pictures of the game. They sort of showed off some screenshots and things like that, and it looks to me like they've added lots more British cars, which is actually a fantastic addition. Like having a British cars in a game that's based in the UK is a fantastic idea. Now they sort of did this in Horizon 3, where in Horizon 3 the game was based in Australia, and what they did then was use lots of Australian cars to match with the game, which makes pure sense. Like why wouldn't you really? And I'm glad they're doing the same sort of trend now, and adding lots of British cars, such as Joshua was mentioning down there in the comments section, the McLaren Senna. Now I'm sure lots of people have been wanting this car for a very long time, and it never appeared in Motorsport 7 so far, but there will be the McLaren 720S returning, or not shown, but appearing in Motorsport 7 at some point, so hopefully that will also be dragged on to Horizon 4. The next thing we know is the fact that we'll be able to own our own properties. Now this is an absolute Forza breakthrough. The last game I played where you could actually own your own properties was Test Drive Unlimited 2, and that game's what now, 7 years old? I think maybe about 7 years old now. Nearly 7 years old, about 5 years old. It came out in 2011, so yeah, it's about 7 years old. I love TDU2. TDU2 is my favourite game. It's got to be my top second favourite game. So I'm so happy they've kind of do a bit reminiscent of this game. They're kind of doing a reflection of this game, and it's fantastic. Another thing that's also sort of added from Test Drive is character customization. Now, I did say in the news that there's going to be a lot more character customization, where you can change like your character's glasses. I've seen that in some of the screenshots. You can change their clothing and their like you can choose whether you're a female or male character, which of course you could do in Horizon 3. However, with Horizon 3 you was very limited to who you wanted. Now the character I chose, he looked a bit rubbish in my opinion. He was like wearing his nan's curtains for his shirt, and it looked absolutely rubbish. Now, as Josh just said, now I was just about to say, the Crew 2 was going to be a possibility for me purchasing and giving it a go, but now I don't even want to bother with that. For the main sense of the fact that you don't need to pay £50 a year, in PlayStation sense, to get PlayStation Plus, to then play online, to then play the Crew 2. I hate that idea. And the fact that it's online only, that if your internet crashes for whatever reason, you can't play the game. I hate that idea. But Forza doesn't have that issue where the Crew 2 does. Now, I'm sure a lot of people won't even consider this as being an issue, but for me, I definitely consider that. There's a lot to mention about this game, actually, because, well, they've added lots of things that are a massive breakthrough for Forza. It's actually quite surprising that they've actually managed to make such an amazing looking game after making Forza Motorsport 7. And again, as Joshua was just... Are you reading my mind, Joshua? I was just about to say, the seasons in the game. Now, the season's going to change every real-time week. So, like, when a week passes, the season will change. Now, I don't know whether that's a week in real-time or a week in, like, current game time. So if you've been playing for the game for a total hours of a week, it'll change. Or whether it's real-time hours, which is more likely when you're playing online, it'll be real-time hours. But I don't know about when you're playing in storyline. So the storylines could probably be not much different from online, but in terms of the season, where, because everything has to match with other players, otherwise it'd be a bit weird that someone's driving around on snow and someone else is driving around in the dry. It would slightly be a bit unbalanced as well. So I think in online sense, it will change every week, where in story mode may change, like you might be able to change the weather depending on what events you're playing at. The next thing we need to talk about is the customization. Now, in the news article of this, let's say release, let's say trailer, advertisement, confirmed, confirmation, they mentioned that they're going to have different customization builds, a bit like the Crew 2 and Need for Speed, where you had different types of builds you can do. So you'd have like a drift build or a drag build or something like that. You'd have all these different builds you can make, which, to be honest, to me isn't much of a concern because I don't really customise my cars that often. But for someone who enjoys customising cars, that's going to be an absolutely fantastic idea. But then again, with this, I do like creating my own race cars and stuff like that. And if you've got that addition to change the interior, and to like change the steering wheels, change the seats, change the door cards, all that kind of stuff, the customization will feel more realistic and hopefully will be a lot more suitable for the car you're actually designing. So let's say, for example, I get a VW Beetle and I want to make a rally raid car. If I was playing in Horizon 3, if VW was in Horizon 3, you wouldn't be able to change the interior in any way. The interior is limited to whatever is there. There's nothing you can do about it. You can change obviously some of the external parts, like the headlights and the bonnets and the bumpers and the other bits and pieces as such, but you won't be able to change the interiors, and sometimes that can be a little bit annoying, especially when you drive around in first person. Hello Snappy down there in comments. I'm playing Drive Club at the minute. I do apologise, I'm playing on a completely different system altogether, but it's the easiest way for me to upload a video very quickly. What else was I going to mention about the properties? For a start, is something very wow, it's just groundbreaking, to be honest. I'm trying to think of a good word for to describe it really, but the Crew 2 was going to have properties, which was again something amazing, but now that Forza's doing this is just amazing. It's just something I didn't even consider about Forza. When they were sort of discussing about Forza Horizon 4, I'd never thought about properties. I'm going to crash my Pagani, that's not good. Right, back on the topic. There looks to me by the screenshots multiple different houses you can own, a bit like Test Drive Unlimited 2. There's going to be certain levels of houses you can buy, so we might have a level 1 house that maybe have maybe 5 garage spaces. I don't know whether their garage space is going to be like garage space limits are going to be a thing, but by common sense and a bit of thought, it makes sense that they have garage spaces with certain properties. Otherwise, what would be the point of buying the properties? Again, back to characters. You can customise your characters a lot more, which is fantastic. You don't have to wear your nan's trousers and your curtains. Another thing is that it makes your character feel more personal as well, which is an absolutely fantastic thing to add. Again, another thing that I've mentioned in the newswire is the character emotes. Now again, this is another thing that's been stolen from Test Drive, and then this is like, again, GTA 5 as well, where you can perform certain actions, like say hello and you wave your hand, or you can do a little dance, a bit like Fortnite as well, even though I've never played Fortnite, but I know there's different actions and stuff in that game. My driving has turned to absolute rubbish at the minute, but I'm trying to talk and drive at the same time, and that doesn't really work very well. Right, let's get round this corner, try not to smash my Pagani up anymore. Right, so talking about the cars, now I have seen in a couple of screenshots there's a few more cars, definitely a lot more British cars, which is absolutely fantastic. For a Brit like me, it's great to see some British cars returning to Forza. Now, as Horizon 3 didn't really have that many British cars, admittedly it had Jag and TVR and a couple of others, but there are some there that just, there wasn't that many. There wasn't like a large amount, which is brilliant to see that they've added some more. As again, Joshua just said, there's the London Taxi. We've seen in one of the screenshots the TVR Cerberus Speed 12. There's the Eagle Speedster, the MG BGT, the Triumph. Is it a Triumph? No, Austin Healey. That's one other. There's a MGA. There's a Frog-Eyed Sprite as well. So there's a couple of British sports cars that are returning. Now, of course, I am going to make a couple of car wish lists as we progress through the month to talk about what cars I'd love to see in Forza Horizon. The game's not going to be released until October, so that's about 4 months away, which is not too bad, not too much of a wait. But in that time, I will release some sort of video saying what cars I'd love to see in the game. So, again, with it being in the UK, I'd love to see a lot more British cars. Now, there's some British cars I would love to see, especially, now, if you've been watching some of my wish lists before, one of the cars I'd love to see, I'd love to Turn 10 forever they do this, add the Jaguar S-Type R. Now, this is one of my dream cars for the S-Type R, and it'd be absolutely amazing to see that in Horizon. Especially with the amazing car noises they have in Forza. It'd be... it's just to be something that would be so suiting to the game as well, especially it's a retro classic car as well now. It's nearly like 20 years old, so it'd be a great thing to see like some more British cars like that as well, especially performance cars. What else is there to talk about? There's lots of things, there's so many different things, it's quite baffling to be honest. It's quite groundbreaking, I've said before, that they've actually added so much to the game. Things like the London Taxi. When I saw that in the trailer, I was like, I didn't even consider a London Taxi. That never even crossed my mind. Another British car I've seen as well in the trailer is the original Range Rover, or I think it's the Rogue. I think it's called the Rogue. I can't remember what it's called now. It's the original Range Rover from the 60s. I saw one of them driving around as your character passed it in the McLaren Senna. You think, yeah, that's amazing. They're bringing some really nice classic British stuff in the game, which is just what we need. Really, to be honest. Right, spin around this corner and I can scroll down the news wire and we can talk a little bit more about the news that we've been given. Talking about characters again though, we haven't seen that much character customization in many games. Now, the Crew 2 is definitely a Forza competitor now. Before we even heard about Forza Horizon 4, the Crew 2 was in a completely different league. Like, we had different builds, you could have houses, you could fly planes, you could have your character customization, you had the car customization was pretty immense, but Forza now is straight up in its league. It might even overtake it. If the car sounds just as good as they were in Horizon 3, I'm not I'm not surprised if the crew lose out on some sales. It's definitely lost a sale from me because I'm not even going to bother with that game. Although in terms of customization though, there's one thing that the Crew 2 has which absolutely made me fall in love with that game, and that is the interior manufacture customization. Now, Forza Horizon, as I've mentioned before, never had interior customization. It was that or nothing. But now we may see some interior customization now that the game has is now competing with the Crew 2. Forza or Turn 10 will have to provide the same sort of content as the Crew 2, otherwise they're not going to get the sales they need. It makes sense for Turn 10 to add interior customization, as again it's something everyone would like. Well, I'm not sure about everyone, but I know me and Carnerd16 would love to see. Now, if you don't know, Carnerd16 is someone I play with on the PlayStation, and sometimes on the Xbox if we have the free PlayStation, or the Xbox Gold I think it's called. Yeah, I play with him at times. But anyway, me and Carnerd have had a discussion before. We have done a couple of videos together, and me and him, we would love to see some interior customization, as it just makes your car feel more personal. Instead of doing like, oh, there you go. For me and Carnerd, we drive around in first person quite a lot, and when you look around the interior, you just see it's all black and bland. It's quite sort of like, oh, that's quite standard, it's quite boring, and you didn't really choose that. Where, if you look at Test Drive Unlimited 2, if anyone who's ever played that game, the interior customization was brilliant. You chose all the different real-life manufacture options. So instead of it being just one colour, you could have cream interior, you could have brown interior, you could have some other different colours that the manufacturer provided. Now, I know with the Aston Martins, there was like purple you could have interior. In Test Drive Unlimited 2, you could have purple interior. You could even have green interior. Now, if Forza did that, that would be, again, approaching maybe even a different league above the Crew 2. Because if it's providing more colour schemes, then it's more likely going to be a better game. There's only a few things that I am scared about with Horizon 4, though. With looking at Motorsport 7, I did play that for about a week before I got rid of it. The physics in the Motorsport 7 were pretty horrible. They were more realistic, I suppose, if you're looking at them that way, like the fact that the car understeers a bit more. But in other senses, I put it on the most easiest settings ever without any computer assist, like the computer steering the wheel for you or putting the accelerator on or anything like that. The handling was quite horrible. Like, you turn the wheel but nothing really happened. But I think the main problem with Motorsport 7 was the sense of speed. Now, you may be thinking, what the hell is this dude gibbering on about? But the sense of speed, I call it a sense of speed, is when you know how fast you're going. Now, if you're driving at 50 miles an hour, and the game is sort of flashing past you, or trees and the environment's flashing past you, you know you're driving at quite a speed. Where in Motorsport 7, you were driving at about 60 miles an hour, but it looked like you was only driving about 20, so you was trying to go around the corner thinking you was only going at 20 miles an hour, but you wasn't. You were going like 50 or 60 miles an hour above what you were thinking, so you ended up spinning off. Where if you see in Drive Club now, the sense of speed's pretty good, even though I keep crashing because I keep talking at the same time, and I can't multitask very well. But you can see I'm actually going quite fast. Now, if I jump into first person, you can see the dashboard. You can see I'm going about 100 kilometers an hour. Now, it looks like I'm going about 100 kilometers an hour, which is about 70 miles an hour. And you can judge the corners a lot better that way. Where Motorsport 7 didn't really do that very well. Horizon 3 did, actually. Horizon 3 was actually quite a good game for the sense of speed factor. Although it wasn't as good as other games such as Test Drive Unlimited 2 and other games like that. But it was still pretty good. Now, other details that we haven't been informed about, which I'd like to mention, is, while we're playing this game, if I didn't take my hand off the controller, that would have been useful, the interior details. Now, I've seen a few people mention about on YouTube saying, oh, we love Forza Horizon 3 for its detail, but it didn't really have that much detail in comparison to this game. Now, admittedly, this game is a PlayStation exclusive, and the company that made this game doesn't exist anymore, which is such a shame. But the interior detail is amazing on this. So if I stop here, I can actually put the car in neutral, which you can't do in Forza, which is A bit weird, but sometimes it's quite useful. Stick it in reverse, of course you can do that in Forza as well. But the main factor is that you can actually stick the handbrake on, and if you see on the dashboard on the rev counter, there's a little red handbrake sign comes on, look. Forza doesn't do that. It just adds the effect. And to make the effect even more, look at the steering wheel animation. He does the proper steering wheel animation. None of this sort of like 90-degree angle stuff. This is sort of, if we stop here a minute, this is kind of action that Forza does. It's kind of like brilliant, but it's not bad. I suppose it's not as bad as Juice 2. If you've ever played Juice 2 though, steering wheel animation was pretty rubbish in that. But again, also with this game, you can see the traction control light coming on, the back wheels are stepping out, and it adds the effect so well. But I like that. I like little details like that. How you say down there, Snappy, in the comments about neon lights. Now, I do think Horizon 4 is going to be a massive step up in terms of customization. We're going to see like different types of builds. We're going to see a lot more, maybe real customization companies. I don't know any examples. Valside, for example, I think it's Valside. They make bumpers and stuff for Toyotas and Fords, I seem to remember. Maybe they might have some more sort of customization like that. That'd be quite, yeah, I think that's what they would do, is probably have real life sponsored, I could try to say sponsored customization parts, instead of having like the manufacturer that your car is and Forza parts. It's going to have something like Valside or whatever other customization companies you can think of that I can't. Something like that would be brilliant, you know, to see, especially the fact that if you're given more option, it makes the game feel a lot better. Right, what other news? Let's have a scroll down on the news articles here. Now, they're saying about the cover art cars, which is just going to be the Defender 90, which has been in Horizon 3, and the McLaren Senna, which of course is something everybody wants. Even though when that car first came out, I thought, actually that thing's horrible, I don't like that car at all. But now seeing it in this game, it's like, nah, actually I'm really liking the way this thing looks. I don't know how it does that, but it's done that. There's not really much news in terms of what they've given us. They've given us the trailer, which tells us about the 4 seasons changing every week. We've got the new McLaren Senna, which is going to be an absolutely amazing car. We're going to see the Bugatti Chiron in Horizon 4, which is brilliant. That was in Motorsport 7, so I'm not entirely surprised. We're going to get 450 cars as standard in the game. Now, that's pretty good. There's 100... that's 30 cars less than the finished version of Horizon 3. But that's 100 more than the original base version of Horizon 3. So... they've added an extra 100 cars from the beginning, but then they've taken 30 away from the finished product of Horizon 3, which, to be honest, I'm not really that surprised, because they've probably removed the novelty vehicles such as the Hot Wheels cars and the is it the Quartz Regalia thing from that Final Fantasy game, I think it was, and also the AMG Halo vehicle. I wouldn't be surprised if they've removed them and then replaced them with other cars, the new cars such as the MGB GT, the Eagle Speedster, and other things like that. Then other things we got as well, that we're gonna, I don't think Toyota's back in the game. Now, if Toyota was, I think Turn 10 would have advertised that a bit more in their trailer, because you know how much everyone loves the Toyota Supra and things like, and cars like that. With them removing them cars in Motorsport 7 and with Need for Speed not having Toyota as well, I think having that extra company in the game, I really do believe Turn 10 would have advertised that. Although you do see the Toyota Rally Raid trucks, but I've heard that Toyota doesn't want any of their production cars in video games. But their Toyota Badger trucks and stuff like that are not production cars, so Turn 10 can get away with that. I'm just reading your comment down there, Snappy, about the houses. I believe, yes, you can go inside your houses. Well, of course we don't know because we haven't seen any footage or screenshots or anything about that, but I believe you'd be able to go inside and walk around just like Test Drive Unlimited 2. Now I may do like a quick gameplay footage of Test Drive Unlimited 2 just so you can get a sense of what it could be like. But I can imagine that you would be able to invite your friends around your house just like Test Drive Unlimited 2. Like you can just say, right, invite this person to your house, and then you can walk around your house, view your garages. I can really see that happening. There's one thing I am worried about though, is the garage spaces. Like how many houses are there and how many garage spaces are you allowed? With Horizon 3, you didn't really have a technical garage limit, I don't think. I never reached it, ish. But I bought every single car in the game on Horizon 3, but the Horizon Edition vehicles. But I never filled up the garage. Didn't say, oh, garage full or anything like that. But you do have a limit on how many cars you can respray. You have a certain amount of layer. You've got a layer limit, I think it's called, where you can only change the colour of a certain amount of cars, which to me technically says it has a garage spot limit. With Horizon 4, with houses, I can see them having a garage limit because it's obvious they can't have infinite amount of houses in the game. So they've got to have a certain amount of houses in the game which have a certain amount of garage spaces. Whether the one house will have the same amount of garage spaces as another is something we have to learn when Turn 10 either releases some more information or we find out in the game when the game finally releases in October. But I can imagine by looking at the screenshots, like they had a mansion with a Aston Vulcan driving out of it, and then they got a screenshot of a little cottage with a Porsche 911 outside. So I kind of imagine that the mansion would have like 10 garage spaces, where the small little cottage may only have 4 or 5. I don't know, this is only sort of speculation and a bit of thought really. So I do believe that there's obviously going to be a limit of houses in the game though. The map's not infinite and they can't have an infinite amount of houses. But I hope they do allow you to buy at least one of every single car in the game. Otherwise it can make it very complicated for me to do my test drive showcases that I do. And also the fact that I like to have all the cars in the game. I'm a bit of a collector, as you say. But they might do the same idea as Test Drive Unlimited 2. Now Test Drive Unlimited 2 had 50 odd houses that had like a scale of one house that had like 2 garage spaces to another house that had I think it was about 8 garage spaces. So I think Turn 10 or in Horizon 4 will do the same thing. I can see them doing that kind of idea, maybe charging like about 200,000 credits for a little cottage with a 4 garage space, and maybe £5 million for a mansion with 10 or 20 garage spaces. It all depends on how easy it is to make money. Now in Horizon 3 it was actually quite easy to make money. If you knew how to do it, if you enjoyed doing the Goliath race, which I didn't enjoy doing, but I did it anyway because it was the easiest way to make money, you could make about 800,000 credits within an hour, which is not bad. I was able to get every car in the game within about 6 months. So it did take a little while, but it was fun. I enjoyed the game and I like collecting all the cars. Let's have a think about what... Oh, I'm crashing again. That's not good. So talking about carrying on with the garages, I hope that they do the same idea as Test Drive Unlimited 2, which gave you a limit of having at least, I think it was about 2 of the same cars. Because the customization was so great that you could change the interiors and stuff, it made sense if someone liked the car so much and didn't know which one to choose, that they would have maybe like they'll give you the opportunity to buy 2 of the same car, which I'm hoping, which is what Turn 10 is going to do in Horizon 4. It makes sense as because if the customization is as good as it may seem by their information, then they should give you this opportunity. I don't mind having one of each car. I think that'd be my limit really. Whoa. Talking about the location, I'm so happy it's in the UK. It is so rare for games to be in the UK. As I said before, the last game I played that was in London or in the UK was Gangs of London. That was on the PlayStation Portable, and that game was like 10 years old plus. So yeah, I'm actually quite glad that it's in the UK. I don't know, the other thing we need to discuss about is car meets. Now, they didn't mention anything about car meets in that game, in the information, or they didn't show any car meets in the gameplay footage, which is a tad worrying for me. But they may not be doing that because it might come as standard in Forza's. Now, I've only had my Xbox for a year now, so I'm hoping that they will have them as standard and have quite a few dotted around the map, like maybe have one in, if the map is as big as we think, we might have one in Birmingham, maybe one in London, maybe one like that. That'd be really cool if we had to drive from those different locations. Very fitting. I'm going to drive around in Scotland in Drive Club now. Look at that. Now, I think there was Scotland showcased in that trailer. I seem to recognise some bits and pieces from Scotland. So yeah, that's quite cool. Let's have a quick skim read of this news wire. Just have another brief look. Yeah, so it says here about the cars. So it says collect over 450 cars and customise your Horizon life. Now this sounds like they've just read the TDU2 trailer and then gone, oh yeah, we'll just use that for Forza. That sounds so familiar to test drive, like build your own life, live the dream, that kind of thing. But then again, that's the whole point of Forza's, isn't it? Whoa, I didn't realise that corner was going to be there. Yeah, so with 450 cars in the game, that's really not bad at all. And of course, we are going to have lots of DLCs in the future, because of course, the DLCs are a great way for game companies to make money. And I enjoy DLCs. I think DLCs make the game last longer. It makes you excited for the game, maybe 3 or 4 months after the game's released, and you've maybe driven it and played it for hours on end, but you still get excited when a DLC comes back. You're like, yeah, we've got some new cars, and you get excited for that time of the month when they can release a DLC, because you're like, yes, what car are they going to have now? I remember playing Horizon 3 in about April, May time last year, and I was waiting for these DLCs to come out, and it was just, yeah, that's what I like about DLCs. Just keeps the game entertaining for longer. What also I did notice with the one of the screenshots is talking about the Regera I'm driving now. There was a colour scheme of it being in orange. Now whether that's a customised colour or not is a different scenario. However, what it could be indicating is that they've added more manufacturer colour schemes to their cars. With the Regera there was only 2 colour schemes, there was red or there was this blue. Where in another car had a bit more or a bit less. The McLaren P1 was certainly a disappointing car in terms of manufacturing colours, because there was only yellow and orange, where, as we know in real life, if you've played this game, there's several colours. There's green, there's yellow, there's red, blue, and I said blue already, black, especially black. You've seen Top Gear when he drives around in a black McLaren P1. Why can't we have a black one? And let's use aftermarket colours, which for me, I just use the McLaren manufacturer colours, whatever the game provides. So yeah, that's pretty much all the news I've got so far. We've literally just had a quick browse of the newswire post. We can see they've added a lot of cars that were previously in Horizon 3, and they've just copied and pasted them over to this game, which, to be honest, I'm fine with that. I hate it. I really hate it when games have these cars and then remove them in the next game. That really aggravates me. Because sometimes these cars they remove are one of your top favourites. Horizon 2, for example, this really hacked me off, was that in Horizon 2 there was the Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren. Now this is one of my top 5 dream cars, the SLR McLaren. And I loved that car in the game. I drove around for ages on end, and then they removed it in Horizon 3. It's like, what? Why? Now, what also annoys me about the SLR McLaren in Horizon 3 is the fact that it's in the files. The car is in the files, but it just didn't have a sound mod for it, so of course they didn't use it. Right, let's have a look at the screenshots. Now, the freedom of the game does look exactly the same as like Horizon 3, where you can go wherever you like, whenever you like. So you can go along the off the rainforest, you can go along the deserts, you can go along the airfields, and that's good because again that's what Test Drive Unlimited 2 did. But Test Drive Unlimited 2 did it a lot better than Horizon 3 because Horizon 3 map was actually very small. It felt very small at least because I only just recently put Horizon 2 in my Xbox and played that yesterday, funny enough, and I was just driving around thinking, wow, this sunset looks amazing, and the map was massive. I was just driving around for ages and I thought, where the hell am I going? And it just felt like a pleasure to drive, where in Horizon 3 the map just felt so small, like it just felt really, really small, and you'd end up going around the map within like 5 minutes. Admittedly, with the Goliath race, each lap was like 9 minutes long in a fully modded out full GT 2017, so it didn't take that long, where I think Horizon 2 took about an hour to go around the whole map in the end race, so, and that'd be great if the map was big, because that I might be able to go past my house and go, yeah, that's where I live. But yeah, that'd be a bit of a laugh. Especially they are sort of targeting the Crew 2, and they have a map just as big as the Crew 2, and that's impossible considering the UK is very, very small in comparison to the USA. The only trouble with doing this video live is the fact I've got to drive around in this game and look at the newswire at the same time, so it's hard for me to actually try and find a good place to stop, otherwise you'd be sitting there watching me either idle in the game or not talking, so that's a bit of a mistake. But the only trouble is with where I live, my internet speed is very, very slow. I live sort of quite rurally, if you could say quite rural area, so the internet's not that good, and it takes me 10 hours to upload a 20-minute video, so I thought it'd be better off if I did it live, to be honest. Right, there's a good spot. Let's quickly scroll up the page, and we're back on the trailer again. And I crashed anyway, but oh well. Well, what do you think, Joshua? Joshua, what do you think about the game? Are you happy about the game? Do you think you're going to buy the game? Are you going to buy the Crew 2? I was thinking of buying the Crew 2, but after watching this, there's no point, because by the time the Crew 2 comes out in June the 29th, there's only 3 months until Horizon 4 comes out. So it kind of feels like that the Crew 2 will be pushed to the side. Like, buy the Crew 2, pay like 60 odd quid for it, and then when it comes October, I'll push that game to the side and play Horizon 4, because I prefer Horizon 4, because it's because Horizon 4 you don't need internet connection and all that. So I just don't know. I just think the Crew 2's been pushed to the side for me, and especially that I like doing those test drive, test drive videos and showcases that if you may have seen on my channel. It's going to make it very difficult for me to be able to make all the money in the Crew 2 to buy all the cars, and then go back on Horizon 4 and do the same thing again. I may buy the Crew 2 again if it's cheap in, let's say, CEX shop. So yes, quite a lot to discuss about, actually. It's talked about it for about 40 minutes now, but there's not much more to talk about, to be quite frank. I'm a little bit worried about the seasons though, because what I like to do in Horizon 3 is go to the car meet on the airfield. Actually, it's the only car meet there is. Go in a car, I might randomly select. I've got a little random selector on my laptop, so I've got all the cars on there, which I just click a button. It does like a random selector, and then I just, whatever car it selects, I drive around the airfield for a bit, and then go to the car meet and do the same thing again in a new car. I just enjoy doing that because I like every single car in the game. I don't care whether it's the Robin Reliant super van thing, whether it's the Jaguar F-Type. I don't mind whatever car it is. I just enjoy driving in that game because the car sounds are so good, and the fact that it's a manual as well. It's just amazing. I can't even imagine the excitement I'm gonna have when that game comes out. I'm gonna go and pre-order it very, very soon, in like the next couple of days. I'm definitely gonna pre-order that and get all the DLCs and the season pass and all that stuff. Well, I think that's all there is to talk about. Now, I apologise for this juddery-ish, not so very smooth video, but the fact I'm so excited about this game, I had to do it as a live stream, otherwise it would take me 10 hours to upload my video after editing it. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I will be releasing some car wishlist videos. They'll come out maybe weekly, as if we've still got like 4 months to go anyway, so weekly videos make sense. So my first video is going to come out as the top 10 British cars that should be released in Forza Horizon 4. But yes, that is all to come. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I hope you're just as excited as me for this game. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.